Hi, my name is Steve Podreczek. Thank you very much for coming to the webinar today. Today we're going to be trying something completely new. We're going to be demoing our new FlyQ Online product, which was previously called Atlas. At the same time, we're going to show you how it interacts with some of the other nice things. For example, it's going to show you how to connect with FlyQ Pocket on your iPhone or your Android, and how you can connect to FlyQ EFB. All right, so without further ado, let's begin. First thing is, if anyone can somehow hear me, but it's garbled or something like that, if you type in a text message, the way that you do that is if you take a look at the window that you're looking at, the one that you logged in, there's a series of little buttons at the top. One of the buttons looks like a bubble. The bubble is actually kind of if you think about cartoons, there's a little text message block where you can, you show messages. It's essentially the message system. If you click on that thing that looks like a circle or a bubble, whatever you want to call it. In fact, I'd recommend that everyone do that right now. If you tap on that, you then see essentially a chat window open. So you'll be able to see questions that other people ask, questions that I may ask you, and you'll be able to see the answers that other folks at Seattle Avionics here may be replying to people. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward, pretty easy to do. All right, so let's kind of begin the presentation. If you take a look at my screen right now, by the way, could someone type in, just confirm that you can hear me and that you can see the FlyQ screen? If someone could do that, I would appreciate it. I'm going to reset my copy of FlyQ, by the way. No particular reason, just seems like a good idea before doing a demo. Okay, great. Well, sounds like people can hear me, people can see me. Fantastic. Okay, so let's begin. So what I've just done is I've logged into flyq.seattleavionics.com. I happen to be using Mac. If anyone's curious, MacBook Air. This is anything tremendously powerful, just a pretty basic machine. You can easily do this using a P. You can use whatever web browser you want. I happen to be using Safari because it's the default one on the Mac. But of course, you can use Internet Explorer. You can use the new Edge if you're using Windows 10. You can use Chrome. You can use Firefox, whatever. All right, so basically what we're seeing on the screen here is it's a split screen. It's very similar to FlyQ EFB on the iPad. In fact, I'm going to take my mouse here. Oops, actually, one problem with doing this, I can't actually use the mouse when I have the highlighter on. I need to remember that. All right, so I can move the screen here a little bit, make things wider, make them narrower, whatever you like. So you always have split screen, but you can control the width of each individual window. When the product begins, it will attempt to use a location service feature that's in most modern web browsers, which is to say it tries to figure out where you are. You can also, of course, you can move the map around, just like I'm doing here with the mouse. But if you want to center and zoom into your current position, you can take your mouse, move it to the left-hand side, top left, and you see where it says search, and there's a search box with ident and name. Next to that, to the right of that, there's a button that looks like a targeting site. It's the same icon that we use in FlyQ EFB. I'm going to click that. And when I do, the system will request my more exact location. So I see the airports that are near me on the left-hand side. And then on the right-hand side, I have an easily movable map centered in on my current position. Okay, so pretty straightforward, pretty easy to do that. As with a lot of other web-based systems or with FlyQ EFB, if you click on the icon here that looks like a stack of papers, I can switch this to IFR low. I can switch it to a photographic map. In fact, I'm going to zoom in. At the lower right-hand side, there's a couple of buttons to zoom in. So let's zoom in here a little bit. So you can't quite zoom in to see people's houses. Well, I don't know, maybe you can. That's looking like it's getting pretty close. All right. So if that's not good enough for you, I'm not sure what would be from a photographic point of view. Let's move that back, though, to sectional. And we can add some other layers to the map as well. At the moment, since FlyQ Online is still in beta, which means a test, not everything on here is quite perfect yet. Not everything is done. So for example, the radar works, but the METARs and the TAF, weather products don't. The winds aloft don't work yet. Air mets don't work. Surface winds do. Surface temps do. So I'm going to turn on just a couple of these. Then I'm going to zoom the map out so you can see what that's like. It'll take the system a couple of seconds to refresh itself, I think. Let's see how that works. There we go. maybe take a couple layers off. Let's take off the surface temperatures and the surface winds. All right. Have a lot of our weather layers. You can turn on a flight plan line. I don't have a flight plan loaded, but other than that, you should be able to have one. Fuel prices are not in yet, but you get the general idea. You have a lot of different map systems that you can look at. What I want to do right now, though, is what I think a lot of people want to do, which is to think about planning a flight. So the whole point behind having FlyQ Online on your Mac, your PC, and then FlyQ Pocket on your iPhone or your Android phone, and then FlyQ Fe on your iPad, so that you can plan a flight, look up weather information, look up fuel prices, look up airport information, whatever you like. Essentially using whatever devices you want to, whenever you want to use them. So if you have your phone, great, use FlyQ Pocket on your phone. If you're sitting at your desk, either at home or at work, use FlyQ Online. All right, so let's kind of begin here. So where I want to plan the flight is my parents happen to live in Florida. So I'm going to type in the search box the name of the city that they live in, called Boynton Beach. So you don't actually need to know the name of the airport, but I'm just typing in Boynton Beach. It tells you the name of the airport. If I did know the name of the airport, like I think an airport near them is called Lantana. No, well, that's a city, but not the right name of the airport. If I want to type in an airport ident or the word Miami, I can do something like that as well. So a lot of different things that you can search on. So this will find a waypoint named Miami, finds Miami International Airport, Opelika. Apparently the word Miami also applies to Miami, Texas, and so on. Miami County in Paola, Kansas. So lots of different Miamis in the world. But anyway, let's just go back to Boynton Beach, where mom and dad live. All right. And there's a series of buttons on the right-hand side, very similar to FlyQ Fe. There's a map button, there's a weather button, there's a button that tells you fuel prices in the area, and one that finds airports in the area. The airports in the area button, by the way, doesn't work in the beta yet. So I'm just going to hit the button that looks like a map. So it shows me essentially the city where they live. I'm going to turn off my radar and my satellite for the time being. And let's zoom the map out a little bit. I want to find a nice airport to fly from. So what would be a fun airport? I'm just cruising up here a little bit. I'm going to zoom in now just a little. All right. Let's say I want to take off from Vero Beach. So this is VRB over here. I go to Florida once or twice a year with the kids to see my parents, but let's say I'm not familiar with this particular airport. Well, what you can do is you can simply click on it. By the way, unlike FlyQ Fe, it's not double click, it's simply single click because you're not in an aircraft. You don't have to deal with turbulence and hitting the screen by mistake. So in this case, we just make it single screen. We see some basic information about Vero Beach. You know, it's blue, which means it's a controlled airport, as opposed to this other airport nearby, Brook Air Patch, which is a magenta airport, which of course means that it is an uncontrolled airport. For Vero Beach, I see the maximum runway, the TPA, frequencies, fuel prices, and so on, and a series of buttons on the side. But if I simply click anywhere in the main part of the cell, I see more information about Vero Beach. So I see on the left-hand side a satellite view. I see my FA diagram. By the way, if I click on that, I see that nice and big, easy to see. I have the Seattle avionics diagram, which is even better because it shows you where all the FBOs are. If I want to flip back to my map, this is very similar to those of you who know FlyQ Fe by having a series of tabs on both the top and the bottom. In FlyQ Fe, the tabs are on the bottom. In FlyQ Online, the tabs are on top. So I'm going to switch from document now on the right-hand side back to my map. I can take a look now, of course, on the left-hand side of my comm frequencies and my runways, my nav aids, and so on. If I want to know what the weather's like at Vero Beach, I hit the weather button. Notice it pre-downloaded that just while we were talking. It went ahead and affects the weather. This particular airport has its own METAR and its TAF. If I had picked a smaller airport, it may pick the TAF off another airport nearby. We have a local, a regional, and national radar. As always, I can simply click on that. I can see the animated version. So it looks like not a lot of weather. Typically in Florida, you actually see a lot worse. By the way, the radar images on Atlas right now are a little bit behind. That's just a beta artifact. So they aren't quite correct on where they ought to be. Anyway, if I want to know what the temperatures were, right now it's apparently 66 degrees, I can click anywhere in here and it tells me what the 7-day forecast looks like. Very human readable, very easy to see. If this were an airport where I was flying out of, I needed an approach procedure of some sort, then you can click on those. So runway 22, runway 12, whatever you may like. You can take a look at the airport facility directory. It goes right to the correct page, which is super handy. Before I take off, I know that Vero Beach has a NOTAM, tells me that. And as far as services go, I know that I can get fuel at a number of these airports. I know that I can find lodging, of course, something to do with Disney. Howard Johnson, wow, I didn't actually know that Howard Johnson was still around. You have restaurants, you have attractions, whatever, okay? This is also a handy feature too. You can hit nearby, and this isn't implemented yet, but in the final product, it'll be like FlyQ EFB and FlyQ Pocket. It'll tell you all the airports in the vicinity. Anyway, so that's my takeoff airport. I'm fine with that. So we're going to go with Vero Beach, VRB. Then what I'm actually doing is my parents used to live in Kansas City. So we're going to fly to the Kansas City area. So let's take a look at that. So I'm going to fly to, I'm going to type in, so I did live there, so I'm going to type in the ident that I know. This is the downtown Kansas City Airport, Charles Wheeler. So that's a little bit about it. I don't need to see any more about it though. I just want to create the flight plan. So I'm going to take my keyboard and I'm just going to type in VRB, MKC. I prefer to fly in Victor Airways. So if I put a V here, the V is pretty slick. What the V is telling you is that you have the ability to plan automatically on Victor Airways. If I wanted to go on GPS Direct, I can type in a G. If I wanted no routing, which is to say literally draw a line between those 2 points, nothing in the middle, I can do that. Let's go back to Victor's. If I wanted to add fuel stops, I can put in an F. Now, my particular default settings, and I'll show you how to do that a little bit later, is such that it will automatically route me on Victor's and automatically add fuel unless otherwise stated. But, that's good enough for now. So I just say V, and I hit the Enter or Return key on my keyboard. It'll take it maybe 5-6 seconds to plan the flight. So let's see how we do here. One of the fun parts about doing a demo live is that I have no control over network traffic or if somebody in the office is downloading lots of things or whatever it may be. So let's see how this goes. The system, by the way, is live this whole time. So you're not actually just waiting. Oh, there it goes. It created the flight plan for me, and I moved the map as it came up. But all right, so here's a map. It looks like we're flying. The name of the flight plan is actually based on your takeoff airport, VRB, your landing airport, MKC, and any fuel stop that the system automatically added for us in the middle. All right, so we're going from Vero Beach. If I scroll down my navlog all the way to MKC. Let's find out, as it happens, I've flown into MKC before, and it's a fine airport, but there's actually an airport closer to where I used to live. I simply don't remember the name. So I'm going to right-click on this, and I can find information about this airport if I want to. I can find a map, that is, bring the map to that point. If I wanted to type in an ident for someplace to add above it, I can do that, or I can delete it. What I want to do in this case, though, is to bring the map to the point, so I select map, and I'm going to try to find the airport that I'm thinking of. I'm just moving to, I used to live in this city here called Overland Park. All right, here it is. Here's the name of the airport. It is OJC. All right, so what I can do here, let's talk some rubber banding. This is so simple, it's just ridiculous. I'm going to take my mouse and I'm going to simply move my landing from MKC to this. By the way, before I do that, I want to show you something too. I'm going to go to my weather briefing at the top here. So this is all the features to do with flight planning are in this gray bar towards the top. So I'm going to look at my weather brief. It automatically got me a Lockheed Martin briefing. This could have been DUAS just as well. So here we're taking off from VRB, going to MKC as expected. If I want to file the plan, I can hit File and do it. I'm not going to do it yet, though, and I'll show you why in a second. Let's just go back to our navlog. And as I said, I wanted to actually change my landing airport. So I'm simply going to put the cursor over MKC, hold down, drag it, and move it to the airport that I want, which is this one. So like in FlyQ EFB, it shows me the nav aids in the area, like Johnson County OJC nav aid, and it shows me OJC, the airport. If I wanted to look at fixes in the area, fixes are available in this tab. If I just want to see nav aids, I can use that tab. Just airports, this one, or again, like in FlyQ EFB, common shows me my airports and my nav aids combined. Great. So that's the airport that I want. To modify my flight plan, I just click on it and take a look. So if you take a look at the left-hand side, it reads KMKC, except it doesn't anymore. See, the system is what a computer scientist will call asynchronous. You don't have to wait for something to happen. There's no little spinny wheel saying you must wait now or anything like that. It's really simple. I can rubber band the flight plan live, and you see the change affected on the flight plan automatically. Even better, let's go back to a weather briefing tab here and you see that? KVRB is our departure. But look at this. OJC is now our destination. Without me doing anything, without typing anything, the system was smart enough to get me a new weather briefing for my new destination. If I go to the FAA plan form, same thing. I'm now going from VRB, not to MKC, Kansas City, but I'm going to Orange County, to OJC. If I want to file that flight plan, super simple. I hit the button up here that says File the Flight Plan. Now, the reason why I didn't do that is different DUOT providers behave differently. I forgot about this. When you're using CFC DUOTs, you can plan a flight, a VFR flight anyway, where you exceed the fuel capacity of the plane. When you're using Lockheed Martin, like I am now, you can't file the flight plan unless you have enough fuel for it to work. Okay, so easy enough to do. By the way, these are all my list of flight plans that I've done recently. And if I want to go back to my navlog, it's still there. Haven't lost anything. Okay, super simple. So at this point, we've planned the flight, we've modified the flight, we've got the weather briefing. Let's say that it's now time to think about, well, where would I get fuel? Well, let's take a look. You see, when the system planned the flight, it automatically added fuel for me. That saves you a ton of time. But the way that it planned the fuel is pretty clever. It doesn't simply find you places that are along the way and just land you there. Rather, let's take a look at this airport, M01. I have no idea what this is before. So I'm going to select info. It shows me the information about this airport. Whoa, look at this. Fuel price, $3.33, updated November 11th. I don't know about you, but I don't usually pay $3.33 to put fuel in. So right now, the system has very, very quickly saved me probably quite a bit of money on a flight like this. If I want to convince myself that that's one of the cheapest fuel in the area, here's how you do that. One of the tabs which is unique to FlyQ Online, FlyQ EFB and FlyQ Pocket don't yet have this tab. There's a button that says fuel. And what does that do? What fuel does is it finds the fuel in the area around where I've just typed in. So right now, let's take a look at this. I'm going to just sort this by distance. So at this particular airport, we landed at M01. The fuel is $3.33. Looks like another airport, 2M8, also is $3.33. If I want to make sure that I really did find the lowest price, I can change my sorting to lowest price. And look at that. So it looks to me like the system did a remarkably good job finding me the lowest price fuel in the area. If I needed MoGas, by the way, you can do that too. You can hit buttons to select MoGas, turn off 100 low lead, see if there's any in the area. No. All right, little glitch there, not too surprising. Okay, that's how the fuel works. So the search button, by the way, is pretty handy. Let's say that I typed in, we did this a little bit earlier, but I kind of want to drive this point home because it's pretty slick. So if I type in my home airport, which is PAE here, I see what you might call a persistent search, meaning if I go to my plans, if I go to, say, weather, anything like that, like let's say that we want to take a look at all the weather graphics that the National Weather Service or NAV Canada provides. So I can just look at some of this weather, like maybe I'm concerned about icing potential. I can click on icing, and there we are, and so on. But I believe that I can also hit the search button, and look at that. It remembers what I was just searching for before. So if I want some information about Snohomish County Airport or about paying the nav aid, that's there for me as well. Or I can just hit weather or plans or whatever it is. The point is that the system remembers where you were and is somewhat persistent. Okay, so we now have a flight plan. Just want to show you a couple other things about FlyQ Atlas that I think are kind of neat. One is, let's take a look again at the recent flight plans. So like in FlyQ EFB, it sorts them by default by when you last accessed the flight. But you can also sort this by whenever your takeoff date was. Give it a second for that to pull up. You can tell it to sort it by the takeoff airport. This can be kind of handy if you're looking for taking off by a particular airport, or even by the name of the flight plan. So a lot of different ways that you can sort this. I'm just going to do it by last access, though. The other thing that's pretty handy about this is a number of people have said that with, hang on, there we go. A number of people have mentioned that sometimes with FlyQ EFB or FlyQ Pocket, deleting lots of flight plans can be a little tiny bit clunky. It takes a lot of taps to do that. Well, turns out it's pretty easy to do that using FlyQ Online, because what we do is we have a different way of deleting it. If I hit the edit button right here, I can simply say delete, 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 and so on. When I'm done deleting, I hit done. And the system recalibrates and reloads in the flight plans from that time. So you don't actually have to wait for all of them to be deleted. After you delete one flight plan, you don't have to wait for it to be fully deleted before the system comes back alive. This again is what we call asynchronous. So no matter what's happening on the left-hand side, for example, the map is always live, always available, easy to use. Okay. So at this point, we've covered a lot of things in the way that FlyQ Online works. I do want to go to show you how you can do a couple of things. One is, and I should have mentioned this at first, there's a button on the far right-hand side that looks like a question mark. I'd highly recommend that you do that. I'm not sure if you can see that right now. That may be on a pop-up that is not visible to you. So give me a second here to change that. Or maybe it is. I'm not really sure. But if you hit the question mark pop-up, hang on for a second. Looks like I lost the window. All right. So when you hit that question mark, hopefully you saw a pop-up showing you some information about what doesn't quite work yet because it's still in beta, tips and tricks, and so on. Next to that is a gear button. Now you don't see the gear button if you're not logged in. These are your own personal settings. So when I click on that, first you have a number of help topics. These aren't filled in yet, but there's an FAQ and a video. You have everything about your pilot profiles and your aircraft profiles. So for example, if I click on my pilot profiles, I can take a look at information about me, address, DUAT information. I can change my DUAT provider and so on. If I need to set myself as a default, if I have multiple pilots, I can click the button to set default. And then when I'm done, I just hit the back button, click it again. You can take a look at your personal waypoints. I love the names of some of these. We've been doing a lot of testing on them, but nothing like don't fly here and things like that. So all kinds of fun things to look at. All of this is very easy to get to within the product, super simple. So hopefully you get the idea that planning a flight, creating a flight plan, getting the weather briefing, all of that, looking at the weather is very simple. Now that's while you're sitting at your desk. So then let's say that it's a little bit later and you want to get in your car, you want to drive to the airport, maybe check the weather again, and then possibly file your flight plan again, maybe update it a little bit. Well, how do you do that? Well, turns out it's quite easy. Although for me, it's going to be a little tricky because I've got to play with some technology here. So give me a second to wire this up. I'm going to switch my screen now to showing an iPad. So give me just a second. All right, so you're now taking a look, hopefully, at my iPad. If somebody could confirm that, I'd appreciate it. So you're looking at the screen. This is my iPad home screen. It's really my iPad home screen. Nothing fancy about it. What I'm going to do is normally I'd be using a phone to do this, but it's a little easier for the demo. Thank you very much, by the way, that you could see it. I appreciate that. For those of you who run FlyQ Pocket can run either on your phone or on your iPad. It's really designed for your phone, but it does work on the iPad. And just to save my demo life a little bit, I'm deciding to run this on the iPad. So I'm going to click on FlyQ Pocket. All right. Now, hopefully, the screen just reconfigured itself a little bit. So it's supposed to look a little bit more like an iPad. So FlyQ Pocket, if you haven't used it, is very, very similar to FlyQ EFB in that it has a list of nearby airports. It shows the airports by color and so on. The neat thing here is that all the information is synchronized. The way that you do that, the way that you confirm that is, there's a button down the bottom. Let me select my highlighter here for a second. All right, so there's a series of buttons down the bottom of the screen. We're right now in airports, then there's weather and flight plans. So I'm going to click on flight plans, and the system will go out to the internet and look at this. It finds the flight plans that I've created recently with the system. So I'm going to load that. So next to the VRB to MKC, it simply, by the way, didn't rename the flight plan. This should be the flight plan to Johnson County Airport. Let's take a look. If I scroll that down to the bottom, there you go. Okay, so that's the flight plan that we just created a little while ago. It's already in the system. I didn't have to do anything other than tap on it. It shows me my name, my plane number, all that kind of good stuff. If I want to get another weather briefing, I could do that. If I wanted to make that font a little bit larger, there's a button over here that I can hit. Make that easier to read, make it smaller, and so on. There's a button next to that that lets me send this flight plan. So just from my phone, I can send it by email, I can print it, or I can even send it if you have the Aspen MFD. That is the Aspen Connected Panel System. You can send this flight plan from your phone automatically to your Aspen system. Pretty slick. By the way, we'll be at the same features in FlyQ EFB. FlyQ EFB will also be adding very, very soon the ability to send it to your Dynon Skyview and to your advanced flight system pieces. The way that you make sure that this all works, by the way, is you go down to the bottom where it's, sorry, let me change something here. You go down to the bottom and hit settings. The trick to this all working is to simply making sure that you use the same email address to log into FlyQ Pocket as you do into EFB. So I'm going to hit my button, and here's where I typed in my email address. So that's it. If you take a look, if you remember when I was logged into FlyQ Online, I was logged in as myself, Steve P at SeattleAvionics.com. I'm logged in here as the same. Sometimes because of the way that FlyQ Pocket is technically still, well, the one that you're using right now still has the AOPA name on it. That means that you're actually logging into conceivably AOPA. That will stop in a couple of weeks. We have a new version ready to go that doesn't require an AOPA membership. But in the meantime, if you've logged in using your AOPA credentials, if you use a different email address with AOPA, you may find that the email setting right here is not the same as the email setting that you want to use for FlyQ EFB or use for FlyQ Online. So you probably do want to hit the settings button and just make sure that the email address here is what you think it is. All right, so let's just take a look just a little bit more about FlyQ Pocket, because it's if you haven't used it before, although to be honest, it's being used by almost 100,000 people, so hopefully you have. It is very, very similar in design to FlyQ EFB. It shows me my current temperature. It shows me what the 7-day forecast looks like, and so on. It has a local, regional, and the national radar. You just hit each one of those and you see it. Go back to local. They're animated. If I tap on that, I see that nice and big, easy to read. If I hit the done button over here in the corner, that goes away. I can scroll up. And another great trick here, if you don't know it, is, see, this is an example of where, oh, right, we're just showing weather from the area. So I see METARs from Payne Field near me and Boeing Field to low south. If I want to make that bigger, easier to read, I simply tap anywhere in here, and I see it nice and big, nice and easy to read. There's a switch at the top that switches between raw and translated. We're on translated now. If I tap on raw, I get raw or translated, and then I can click the done button, go back. Very simple, very easy to do. So FlyQ Pocket is designed to be very simple, but it does do some other neat tricks. One of my favorites is, again, the sort button. So if you are looking for something and you need to find something with maybe a long runway, hit the sort button and say, I need an airport with a long runway. Now, preferably, you're not going to land on a seaplane base like this. You have to have quite an emergency to want to put your Cessna or Piper down on this, but you get the general idea. So you have the ability to hit the sort button and sort it by distance, by type of fuel. If the weather is particularly bad, you can sort it by good weather on top, or just take and sort it by distance, okay? So at this point, let's actually take a look at our flight plan, and let's say that we're looking at the clock here and we're thinking we're going to take off a little bit late. So I'm going to go back to my plans tab here. It's a little bit different in FlyQ Pocket than EFB, but I'm going to hit back to flight plans, and I'm going to say, well, okay, the flight plan is great. So here's our flight plan, but up above this, it says change takeoff time minutes in the future. Let's say that traffic's a little heavy or whatever, and I want to take off an hour from now. So I'm going to tap on the 30 minutes, set that to 1 hour, Now I'm going to tap again on the flight plan to load it, and we'll reload it with a takeoff time approximately 1 hour from now. So we'll recalculate all the winds, it will ask for a new weather briefing, and so on. Let's take a look at that. For wind speed, wind direction, and so on. Let's take a look at the weather briefing up here. So just do that, and there we go. So this is a weather briefing now set up for a different flight time. It's all here, all ready to go. If I want to file that flight plan, it's very similar to on FlyQ Online or in FlyQ Fe. I click on the File button. I can review this, and if there's a change I want to make, I can do that, but let's assume that's correct. So I just hit the File button, and, oh, right. Once again, we had the same problem before, that Lockheed Martin won't let me file a flight plan, which is more than the stated capacity of the plane. Oh well, you get the idea though. All right, but now we've gone from the web-based system to using it in your car. So the idea here would be you'd be driving to the airport, you can make a quick modification, look up weather quickly, confirm everything's okay. One of the other neat things about having it on your phone, of course, is let's say that this is my takeoff airport. If this really were on a phone, and right now it's on an iPad, so it's not, where it says down here ASOS or AWOS, you can click on that and call it. It doesn't really work, of course, again, if you're on an iPad. But that's a very, very handy feature. Similarly, let's say that let's take a look at services for this airport. And I want to look up some of my fuel prices. So it looks like Castle and Coke here has fuel. But let's say I land here and I said, wow, actually the fuel's not right. They've changed the price since then. Well, okay, fine. So you simply tap on here. You can type in the new fuel price. So pretend I'm typing in something new. Then I click the Done button. And you won't see the change immediately. What you'll see, it tells you they'll be updated the next time fuel is updated, which is every 24 hours. So that's a great way to help you as a pilot can help all your other pilots know what the currently updated fuel prices are. Similarly, again, if I want to call Castle and Coke, I just tap here, and I could say, call them, which again, I'm not going to do. All right, so 2 products now. We've used the web on a Mac. We've used an iPhone. And I'm going to click my home button on my iPad. Screen will magically readjust. Pretty amazing, actually. And then I'll load up FlyQ Fe. So let's say we're now getting into the plane. We're getting ready to go. All right, so we're going to go down to the bottom and load in that same flight plan. So FlyQ Fe has automatically disappearing toolbars. So I'm going to hit this. This is not the flight plan that I was looking at before. This is a whole other flight. So what I want to do is I'm going to hit the Plans button to go back to my list of recent plans. And in a moment, we should see, hey, what do you know? So Vero Beach to whatever, to MKC. Now, it says here that it's on server, as opposed to the one down below, this is downloaded. Well, that means just what it says. It means that this plan was created somewhere else. It wasn't on this device. So it's what we call on server. So if I want to load in the flight plan, I simply tap on it. And the flight plan is getting loaded from the server. It's telling me, by the way, to be sure to download the data for the flight. So let's do that. So you go up here to the pre-flight checklist, and let's just make sure that we have all the data for the flight. When using FlyQ on your, ooh, look at that, we have red. So we don't have the airport diagrams, we don't have the AFDs, we don't have the VFR. Ooh, looks like we're missing a lot of things. It's a good thing we checked. When you're using FlyQ Fe, you're not normally connected to the internet, of course. When you're using FlyQ Online, you typically are, so it's not much of a factor. The point, though, is we try to make it very easy to do the download. So if I wanted to, I could just hit the download button here, and it would load in all of the data that I need along my flight. I'm not going to do that quite yet, though. I'm going to hit the down button. And the reason is because I want to hit the button next to, this is the pre-flight checklist, the button to the left of it that looks like a down arrow. Let's just take a look at what data I do have on my iPad. So if you haven't used FlyQ Fe before, you're in for quite a surprise when downloading. It's really slick. See, the green states here, this isn't a political thing. There's no like independent voters or something. Green simply means good in FlyQ Fe. So we've downloaded the data for all these green states. If it's clear, that means we haven't selected the data for download. But let's say I click on Kansas. If I click on Kansas, it becomes red. And as you can see from this key here, that means that the data is either expired or it's never been downloaded. The magenta line here is our flight plan. So you can see really, really conveniently, all the different states that you're going to fly through. So this is really slick because, and this isn't something I particularly planned, but let's zoom in on this area right here. If I were going from an alphabetical list of states, I bet that there's a really good chance that I, like in most other products I've seen, let you download states by looking at an alphabetical list. If I had done that, look at this. This thing right here, this flight plan goes slightly through Tennessee. I bet I would have missed Tennessee if I were looking at a list, not at a graphical representation. So I'm going to click on Tennessee and Arkansas and Mississippi and Missouri and Alabama and all of that. Zoom the map out a little bit, and I could download that data. Obviously, I need Florida, and I should probably get Georgia too. Okay, I'm not going to do that right now. It'll take a little bit of time to download those, but you get the general idea. Is that the download system, by having the flight plan line overlaid, is super, super handy. It's a really great way to be able to look at it. All right, so I'm going to hit the down button, and let's just begin our flight. Let's see how it goes. Like in FlyQ Pocket, if I want to make this font bigger, I can hit the little in big letter A, make that a little larger. As before, I can go to should be able to go to my weather brief. Oh, let's do this too. I can change the takeoff time. So once again, if I decide that I need to change my takeoff time, I can do that in FlyQ EFB. Maybe set the time to be 7:30 tonight. I'll hit the change button. The system will reload itself. It'll recalculate all the winds and so on. There may not be much of a difference here. Oh, looks like it is. I don't know if you noticed this, but the wind changed considerably here at Vero Beach. So I should be able to load in my weather briefing now. Or if I want to look at the flight plan form, there you go. So it's my updated weather briefing. If I want to file my revised flight plan, which, as we know, I can't actually do because it's too far. I don't have enough fuel to do this, but you get the general concept here. If I want to rename my flight plan, by the way, because I'm not really flying to this airport, so I'd like to rename it. All the things that are blue and underlined, like the takeoff time, the name of the flight plan, the pilot name, VFR versus IFR, plane, all of that stuff. If it's blue, it's like a blue underlined thing on a web page. It means you can click on it. So I'm going to click on the name of my flight here. And on the iPad, I'm going to just call that, I believe I'm flying to OJC. I think spelled correct. Ouch. Yes, let's go for that. Ouch should be fun. We're going to fly from Vero Beach to Ouch. And if I click on change, the flight plan name will get changed on the server. If I try to load it again from another device, you'll see that the name has changed there as well. So pretty easy way to do that. It's pretty fast to change the name of your flight, to get new weather briefings and so on. So we're now flying to Ouch. I kind of like that actually. Okay, so let's go down to the bottom here. Let's load in our map and let's begin this flight. Now, obviously I'm not going to get into the plane right now. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to the upper right-hand corner and I'm going to turn on what we call the GPS simulator. If you happen to like simulators like X-Plane, or in the very near future, Microsoft Flight Simulator / Prepar 3D, you can hook that in too. But for the time being, I'm going to use the built-in simulator that FlyQ EFB has. I'm just going to tap here, and this gives me all the information, by the way, if you haven't seen this before. The GPS, I'm going to tap off that and explain it to you. The GPS button is green, meaning that the GPS is good. If it were yellow, it would mean it would be kind of marginal, and a red GPS means I have no GPS. The WX button tells me that my weather is recent. Again, if it were yellow or red, that would mean it's getting a little old. The ADS-B indicator here would tell me if I had an ADS-B connected, and if I had one with a battery, this other indicator here, this is ADS-B with the battery symbol on the top, that would be lit up, telling me that I have the ability to see my battery status. The reason why ADS-B, by the way, is not red right now, you may think, well, you're not connected to the ADS-B, so it ought to be red. Well, yes, but no. The reason no is because we try to use this area to show you things that you need to be alerted to, things that are out of the ordinary, that are potentially dangerous. If you don't have an ADS-B connected, you probably know it. You probably don't have it. Most pilots still don't fly one. On the other hand, if you connect one, it will turn green. But, and here's kind of the tricky part, if you disconnect an ADS-B receiver while you're flying, then it will go from green to red, because at that point, we want to draw your attention to that part of the screen. We want to tell you that you've lost your ADS-B receiver. That's not quite the same thing as never having one. Anyway, if you tap on any of those 4 buttons, you can see details. So I can see more details about my GPS, or if I go down here to weather, I see details. I know how old all the weather products I've downloaded are. FlyQ EFB uses 20 different ADS-B receivers. We use the Stratus and the Stratus 2, the Stratus 2S as well. We use the StratX open source system. We use Clarity. We use the iLevel. We use SkyRadar, Free Flight Systems, Dual. I'm sure I'm forgetting some of them, but we work with 20 different ADS-B systems. If you're hooked up to ADS-B, instead of telling you NextRad is 9 minutes old from the intranet, you would probably see 3 minutes old ADS-B. So for each individual weather product, if it's coming from ADS-B, we tell you. Satellite, for example, never comes from ADS-B. They simply don't have the bandwidth to show it. So the satellite always comes from the internet. If I really care about ADS-B, it'll give me more details. It'll tell me when my weather, traffic, and GPS are updated. Again, I'm not connected right now, but if I were, it would also show me where all those ADS-B ground stations are graphically relative to my plane, and so on. But what I really care about right now is simply turning on the GPS simulator. I'm going to turn that on. At this point, we begin flying. It's going to be a little bit slow on the map because it actually has to download the map tiles. Remember that we didn't actually download the data yet? Well, that's part of the problem here. So we didn't download any data, so it's downloading it on the fly, as it were, like this. Now, one of the nice things that you can do with the simulator is you can jump to a specific spot in the flight. I'm going to do that. I'm going to tap. All I did was I tapped up here again. And on the simulator, I can either make it go faster, which is handy to do. I can move to a different position on the route, or I can even jump to a particular waypoint. Like, I don't know why, but let's take this point right here. So I'll jump to that. So we're flying along here. I can do things like I can overlay weather graphics on here, very similar to FlyQ. I knew I was going to say that. I knew I was going to say Atlas at some point. Very similar to FlyQ Online. I can hit the layers button. I can turn on my radar, maybe my satellite. Let's go for satellite visible, METARs and TAFs, so on. Look at the map. Pretty clear they see a lot of green dots. Green dots are VFR weather conditions. Anything that was yellow would be marginal, or reds would be, let's see if there's anything over here. So we have one yellow, one marginal. Wonder why. If I want to know more detail about that, I simply tap over here, and it shows me the information. So it looks like, well, we have broken clouds at 2300, visibility is unlimited, and so on. If I want to know more information about this, I can scroll through it and see it. Now, a couple of things to point out here too, something that you see on the system. As you fly, there are these nasty things called TFRs that sometimes get in our way. What FlyQ EFB version 2.2, which is the one I'm running right now, it's not available quite yet. It has a brand new system for doing TFRs. In the past, we used to get our TFR data from a really, really big company owned by Boeing that begins with the letter J. Let's put it that way. And this J company was under a contract, is under a contract from the FAA to provide the data. They don't update it though on the weekend, it appears. And frequently the data is not as accurate as it ought to be. So what we've done is for FlyQ EFB 2.2, we've replaced that letter J company's data feed with one directly from the FAA. We've also added in all the sports TFRs, which people have really been asking for. And the reason why I bring this up is we notice that there are two different color TFRs on the screen here. The red one means that it's currently active, and the orange one here means it will be active at some point soon. So let's say I tap into that red one. It tells me that this is a security TFR. If I tap on this again, I see more details. In fact, if I click on this text, I can see the text here much larger if I really need to. But the main point is it's just a single tap in here, and it shows it to me. I get all the details. I know from the icon that's the security versus something else, and so on. Let's take a look at this orange one. I'm going to tap on that. That's what I thought. That is a game, okay? So we have South Florida versus UCF. I have no idea what UCF is, but it looks like the game begins in a couple of days at 3:30. Like in all sports TFRs, it's surfaced to 3,000 feet. You can click on it, see more, etc., etc. Okay, so that's something new in FlyQ EFB version 2.2, which will be coming out very, very soon. So as I'm flying along, let's see where I am. There's a button here. If you remember the button from FlyQ Online that looks like a targeting, well, here's the same button here. So now we see ourselves flying along in the flight plan. I actually am going to use a button that looks like a compass to turn us into track up mode. In track up mode, the aircraft goes down to the bottom of the screen, so it gives me lots of space above me. Maybe zoom in a little here. If I prefer for all the text to be straight side, to be right side up, I can fly in what's called north up mode. I do that by tapping this button the second time, and now we're in north up mode. Okay, so easy to do, very easy to see where you're going. I can also split the screen. So in the upper left corner of the screen, there's a splitter button. Now, I don't really want to have two maps, so that's not super handy. What I'm about to try actually isn't going to work, but I'm going to show you what it looks like a little bit. If I hit the button, it looks like a 3D cube. If I have downloaded the data for this area, which I have not, as we recall, you would see the full-blown terrain below you. Okay, so you would see all the terrain, it's color-coded, and so on in the split-screen view. To make that back into 2D, I simply hit the 3D cube button a second time. I can look at a map over here. What's neat about this, again, with the split screen, it's very, once you learn to use any FlyQ product, the rest of them work very, very similar. So let's say, I'm not going to type in here. Let's say they want to know something about whatever this is over here. Some double tapping. It looks like we're near Mariana Muni. So we know this is how we jump to the map. This is how you can do a direct to if you wanted to in case of an emergency. I can hit the plus FP button to go to add this somewhere in my flight plan. But I know because of this icon right here that looks like the procedures icon that it has procedures. So I'm going to pull up a procedure for that airport. So here it is. We're flying on this airport. If I want to see this on my map, it's easy. There's a button right here that looks like a map button. I'm going to tap that. I'm going to go to the left-hand side, and it's on the map now, but it's a little hard to see because it's a white IFR map against a white plate. So I'm going to click on my layers. And I know this doesn't really make any sense on an IFR flight, but I'm going to set this to sectional just so you can see it. So as you can see, it's very easy. You can take a look at approach plates on the map. If that's not the right approach plate, if this one actually has more than one, I can flip over here on this side. I can flip back and forth on the right. And as you can see, it changes on the left-hand side. It's getting a little bit late here. It's getting a little bit dark. So for example, if I was worried about that and I want to make sure that I could see at night, there's a button in FlyQ Fe that looks like half black and half white. That, if you tap, goes into night mode. So in night mode, you see colors on the screen. So my METARs and taps are still green. This isn't like triple tapping. I don't know if you knew this, but you can triple tap the home button on an iPad or an iPhone to invert all of the colors, make them all backwards. Well, that works fine for black and white, but I mean the green becomes, I don't know, red or something. And I don't really know the colors, but the point is that all the rest of the colors become wrong. So we think that's just a bad idea. I want to know the green always means green. Green means VFR weather conditions. So when we turn on night mode, we invert the black and the white and anything near it, but we don't invert the actual colors. Let's turn on TAWS also, see if that has any effect on where we are. It may not. Oh, here we go. Okay. So right now, if we take a look at the gauge at the top, we're flying at 4,500 feet. So we're not particularly near anything, but if we were to fly up here, this is what we call terrain avoidance. Red means that this terrain here is within 100 feet of us or above us, so hitting it would be a really, really bad idea. The yellow terrain means that it's within 1,000 feet of us. We're clear of it, but it's going to be close. Okay, so that's what TAWS looks like. All right. So at this point, again, just to recap a little bit, I began on my Mac planning the flight, checking out weather, looking at cheap fuel, and so on. I then moved to my FlyQ Pocket on my phone, and I updated the flight plan. I tried to at least file the flight plan. I got an updated weather briefing, and so on. Then I got into the plane with FlyQ Fe, and I actually flew the flight. That's the power of having FlyQ Online on the web, FlyQ Pocket in your pocket on your phone, and FlyQ Fe in your flight bag on your iPad. No other solution, no other company has anything like this. We've been doing this for a long time, and we think this is a hugely powerful thing, that the ability to be able to use whatever device you have, whatever device is best for the job. For example, planning a flight on an iPad on a 7-inch screen or a 9-inch or whatever 10-inch screen on an iPad does work, but it's a little bit clunky. When you can do that using a 23-inch display like I'm using, or one bigger than that, it's so much easier to plan a flight. So that's a little bit of the information about FlyQ Online, brand new, FlyQ Pocket, and FlyQ EFB. For Seattle Avionics, I really appreciate you joining us today. My name is Steve Pedrachik. Have a terrific day. Thank you.